Hey guys, welcome to Wholesale Hotline. This is the pre-show. This is the pre-game warm-up. Jamil, Brent Daniels, and myself decided that we didn't want to just talk about helping you guys. We wanted to show you guys and take it to the next level. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a weekly warm-up show. And this week, we've got Annie Dragonova from Batch Leads on the show. Annie, do you know what we're doing today? What are we going to do to show people how to run this business?
We're pulling lists for people.
Love it. So what we did is last week we reached out to Annie, Jesse, and Evo, the three partners over at Batch Leads, and we asked them if they would sponsor this week's contest. And what we did is we asked everybody watching Wholesale Hotline if they would tag their city, talk about their city, post about their city, etc., in social media. So our Wholesale Hotline Facebook group, Instagram stories and Instagram posts, etc. And the loudest city would win a pulled motivated seller list that Batch will skip trace. And that's going to happen right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring Jonathan Mark. He lives in Houston. He invests in Houston. We're going to have Jonathan Mark. He's not only a TTP student, but he's also a subject to or sub2.com students. We're going to have him come on here in just a second. But as we're waiting for him to jump on and tell us what list he wants us to pull in Houston so that he can start sharing that list with other people that want to squad up with him. That's what, guys, before we jump into this, that's the whole purpose of what we're trying to do. We're trying to not only talk about squatting up, we're trying to encourage it by giving you guys incentives and giving you guys reasons to squat up with each other and resources, more importantly. We're spending the money. Well, today, Batch is going to be spending their money. They're sponsoring this. They're spending money to help you guys out and encourage you guys squatting up. So, Annie, tell us, you guys just launched Batch Leads 2.0, right?
Yep, we did. We launched it on the 2nd, so about a week and a half ago. Almost 2.
Love it. Okay, so guys, if you are watching this live, what I would do is I would, if you don't have a texting platform or you don't know where to pull lists, I would go to batchleads.io/Jamil. Is that Jamil's? What is Jamil's code? Do you know his sushi code?
Actually, you guys have one for squad. It's batchleads.io/squad.
Okay, squad. So if they do squad, is it squad or squad up? And they get
squad.
What do they get for? Is it the 500 free text or they get half off their first month?
So whichever one actually they choose, if they use the promo code squad, they get 50% off. Or if they go to batchleads.io/squad, then they get 500 text messages for $1.
Love it. Okay, cool. So here we're going to get started, but tell me, what did you guys launch in Batch Leads 2.0 that is so cool? And tell us a little bit about how that launch went in the last couple of weeks.
Okay. So what we actually launched was we launched an entire new user interface that makes it a lot more simple for a user to do what actually generates them money. It's to actually talk to sellers. So we made that a lot easier. Now we have lists that are already in our platform. So you can now pull your list, skip trace your list, organize your list, and text message directly through there. You don't have to sign in and out of 30 different softwares.
Love it. Okay. Hey, Jonathan Mark joining us in the studio live. I called on Jonathan kind of last minute because we just announced the winner of this contest being Houston a couple hours ago. And I thought, dude, who better than Jonathan Mark, who is not only a TTP alumni, but he's also a sub2.com student, crushing it. Look at those guns, by the way, bro. You are freaking. Did you lift today or what?
Every day, every morning. I'm trying to get on your level pace every morning.
I love it, dude. So let me ask you a question. Are you okay, Jonathan, if we give you a list for Houston, are you okay with people reaching out to you and sharing that list with you?
Of course, the more the merrier, for sure.
Love it. Yeah. So because you're already investing, you're crushing it down there in Houston, constantly leveling up, constantly growing your network down there. We wanted you to be the person that chose what list in Houston we pull. And so today we're going to pull 5,000 records and skip those for you and the people in Houston. Okay, so Jonathan, what kind of lists are you currently investing in right now, and what do you need more of?
So I'm pretty much like a mixed bag. So I'm going after probate, pre-foreclosures, tax delinquents. I would love like a solid code violations list.
Can you guys pull code violations right now?
So code violations get pulled on a county level. That is something that if you're getting it from somewhere, most likely it's going to be a little bit of an outdated source unless you're getting it directly from your county.
Yeah. What are the people in the comments saying? Are they like
Who in Houston wants to get to squat up with Jonathan? I could say Jonathan's right on the right path. We love those lists too. We love probate. We love vacants. Vacants are freaking money for us. Yeah. Jonathan, are you guys doing anything with mobile homes? Any manufactured homes out there?
I'm not personally, but I would love to give that a shot because I feel like that's a blue ocean type list.
It is where we get all of our best deals as manufacturers.
Exactly. Nobody knows how to comp them. Nobody knows how to work them. So I think that's a list that nobody is really going after. I think that might be something pretty special right there, mobile homes.
Okay, Annie, why don't we see if we can find a mobile home list in Houston? Is that something you feel like we could pull?
So there is a total of just in Houston specifically directly. There's 1,304. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, so let's do this. Go. Will you do a screen share for us so we can see what you're looking at?
Yep. Let me know when it's up.
Yep, it's up right now.
All right, so I'm just going to show you guys. We're going to just search for Houston.
Look at Junior Octavio. He's saying he's got buyers from mobile homes in Houston.
And I'm just going to do a filter, residential, and then manufactured homes.
Love it.
And when we apply that filter, it's going to give you this number because I already did the search. So 1,304.
What's the geo area that you're covering? Because Houston is like really big. Maybe you might be able to broaden it out.
So what would I search?
Can you do multiple counties at one time?
No, I can do up to the 5,000. Yeah, absolutely.
So Harris County, Fort Bend.
All right. One at a time. Let's go.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm gonna forget them otherwise. All right. So what is it? Almost 40,000 properties.
All right. Let's add another filter to that. Let's keep that county. But
Okay.
what filter should we do? Should we do high equity? Should we do vacant? What are you thinking, Jonathan?
Definitely high equity.
All right.
I think that if you put that vacant filter on it, it'll shrink it down a ton.
Yep.
So let's see where we are with high equity.
High equity, what percentage are we looking at?
50% or more.
You guys want 50% or more? All right.
Jonathan knows this is Wholesale Hotline, not Subject to Hotline, so he's known for that equity, right?
Yeah, I'm fishing my mindset. I mean, gotta fish audience.
Dude, I don't know if you saw this, but like Tara and a bunch of people getting their first Subject to contracts today in our private mentorship. I don't know, have you been in the Facebook group or you've been too busy?
I've been on meetings all day, but that is awesome. That's what I love to hear. It opens up so many doors, being able to transition that conversation. But
what do we got now, Annie?
So we had 37,000 that were 50%, and then I actually did vacant, yes. So that dropped it to 74. So we need to get higher equity actually. Let's try
74 what?
74% equity. So
Love
between okay, so
holy crap, still 38,000?
38,000, yeah.
I had no idea there was that many mobile homes in Houston.
Bro, most people have no freaking clue on that. Annie, let's see. Assess. Oh, go to assessed value.
Yeah, I think.
Lower the ARV. Can you try and get to like that? Can you adjust the ARV?
Yeah. What do you guys want it to?
I would say max ARV $200,000.
Yeah. And what about absentee owned as well?
$200. All right. And you want absentee?
Yeah.
Owner occupied? Nope.
Also, I know with mobile homes, the build date is really important. Like after like 75 or something, or 83.
1976 and older.
Yeah, yeah.
But anything 1976 or older, what we do is we buy those on creative financing, so you can buy them for like almost the dirt value. I don't know if you saw this on my Instagram the other day, but the best deal I bought in 2019 was a older 1976 mobile that I basically just took over the mortgage. Obviously, bought it subject to.
Yeah.
We're seller financing it for $100,000 more than I bought it for at 9.5%.
That's so
Guys, we still have 13,000.
What the hell?
Bro, you had no idea there were so many opportunities in freaking Houston that you're missing out on.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of mad.
No, I'm not joking. On manufactured homes, this is why. Do you know Jesse, Annie, and Evo and I are all partners in a big manufactured home development?
Yeah.
So the reason they reached out to me, what was it, about a year ago, Annie?
Yeah.
Is because I do so many mobile homes, and the reason I do so many is because, like you said, Jonathan, it's a blue ocean. Our average assignment fee on manufactured homes is over $20,000.
Wow.
There's so many more deals in manufactured homes that nobody is touching, and just they're free to go after. Oh yeah. What about owning? What Drix is saying? Own for 10 years or more.
10 years or more is shrinking us down way too much. Because I just did own for 3 years, and it dropped us down to 2,000.
Okay, own it. Do it for 2 years. Let's see if we can bump it up. I'm trying to get these guys to 5,000.
Is that equity filter still on there?
Yep. So these are, if we actually, can you guys see this right here?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah. So this is what's currently on there.
Okay. It's kind of small on my screen.
Brent Daniels, say hello to Jonathan Mark, TTP.
Yeah.
What's up, man?
Hey. I love that you're running this. This is exciting, man.
Yeah.
This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm so glad it's you. This is going to be good.
It's like what's cool about it is like full circle of mentors. Like started off with Brent, now I'm with Pace, and I'm kind of making my way through Phoenix right now.
Next is going to be Annie. Annie's hooking you up. It's going to be great.
Jonathan, but who has more muscles, me or Brent Daniels?
Come on, player.
Annie.
Yeah, Annie has more muscles. That's right. All right, go ahead. Pull your
I was going to say that could be a good filter. Making sure that nobody. Where are we at now with numbers?
We are. Let me zoom out because I zoomed in so you can see that.
I mean, check this out. You got Rhino students up in here because of Brent, because of Tom Krol. Dude, I'm so excited for Tom Krol. He's the best.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible. I'm going to get him on. I'm going to get him on here early. See if we can get him a little sneak preview.
Oh, Tom is coming on?
Yeah, he's actually sitting. I can see him. He's in the back studio. I think he can hear us talking, but he's not on the screen yet. So he's just hanging out. It looks like he's out. What's funny is not Brent, but Tom is at his cabin, it looks like, having a nice little mug of tea or coffee, hanging out with the family, I'm sure, up in his cabin.
All right. I apologize, you guys. I lost the search, so it's going to take me a second. Harris County.
It's all good. It's just good. This is good for people to see this again, like how to run the search. And now that we kind of work through it, we know what we're looking for. So Annie, walk through what you're doing so we can remind ourselves what kind of filters we're adding.
Yeah. So what we have is Harris County, and then I opened up the filters, and I have manufactured homes. And then you guys wanted manufactured homes with, or that are or estimated value of 200 or less. with 70% equity.
Some juicy boys.
Yeah, I think we were at 50, but 70 worked.
Because we were still at, like, I think it was like 13,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did we have that year built in there?
Oh, we didn't have the year built, but we had non-owner occupied.
There you go.
That's the one that we were missing.
So everybody's watching right now. We've got, between all of our platforms, we have a little over 300 people watching. This is just the warm-up show. Okay, Wholesale Hotline is going to start having this show every week. Our normal live is going to go live at 5 p.m. Arizona time. However, we really want to not just talk about how this business works. We want to show you guys how this business works. And so the reason we brought Jonathan Mark on here today is because, number one, we appreciate him. We know him well. We know he's a Houston boy. He's out there in that swampland out there in Houston. All them floods you guys have. But Houston won the contest. So last week we announced the contest. Whatever city was the loudest in the Wholesale Hotline Facebook group, tagging the most, posting the most, and it ended up being Houston. So we announced that today as Houston. So we hope next week we get more people commenting, more people posting, because we're going to be doing this in and out every single week at the beginning of the show. This is the warm-up show where we show you guys real tactics, real tools, and we guys help you guys and encourage you to squad up with each other. So what do we have so far right now, Annie?
We have what year built? I know that we said 1968?
1976 or
1976.
Yeah, I just type in 1977, get 1977 or 1978 or newer.
Yeah.
And so the wholesale hotline, wholesaling comes down to three parts, right? Lead generation, conversion, and disposition or exit strategy. When we talk about pulling lists, this is part of the lead generation. This is part of that first part. This is I cannot express how critical it is to pull the right distressed lists. The people that you target on here are so critically important, and I always encourage people to test out 3 different lists to see which lists have been really, really, really stomped on by other people in your market and which lists are wide open. Now, listen, it doesn't mean that if people have talked to a few people already on the list that you abandon it. No, there's still distress lists, but I want you to find those little niche lists, and for some reason, it always ends up being driving for dollars. Those little niche lists of properties that aren't just being completely bombarded by everybody else. That's where you're going to find a few extra deals every single month, is in those little teeny niche lists. So it's really important to track where you're going, and understand the signals of distress so that you can pull the highest quality list.
I love it. All right, so we're down to 8,000.
Okay, so let's Annie, will you pull the list for the 8,000 and I'll pay the difference for that? Let's pull the list for the 8,000. Tell us what that list is.
Okay, so I'm just gonna close out and show you guys. So we have Harris County, non-owner occupied, residential, mobile, manufactured homes built from 1977 to 2010, owned by an individual, so no trust, no LLCs. Estimated value less than $200,000, and with 70% or more equity.
Damn, that's a good list, dude.
That's a fire list.
Bro.
Everybody at home, start taking notes. And Annie, what is this technology that you're using?
So it's batchleads.io.
That's it. Batchleads.io. And they can try this out, test it out for, what's the deal?
For $1, 500 text messages, or 50% off with Squad Up promo code, or Squad.
Squad is the promo code. So here's the thing, guys. Make sure that what Annie's mentioning here is you can text out of this system. so you don't have to pull it back and forth and do whatever. You pull the list and you text. We're going to do it live. You're going to see it. So, I mean, we're just showing you what's going on, but it's really, they just opened this up. This is really, really, really cool.
All right. So I just pulled the list. It's going to take a little bit for that list to get generated. So
Jonathan, if we want people squatting up with you on this list,
Yeah.
Where should we have them reach out to you? On your Instagram, your email, or what do you think?
Facebook. They should be able to see my name on Facebook, right?
Yep.
Yes, they should. But I'm going to type your name in the comments, and then I'm going to put your home address and your cell phone number in there too. Just
and my social as well. Just make sure you cover all bases. But yeah, feel free, everybody in the city, go ahead and DM me. Let's squad up together. I think this is a fire list. So let's get after it. I'm already getting blown up. So
perfect.
Yeah. This
love it. So guys,
the TTP family members know they're coming for you. They're coming for you, Jonathan.
Yeah,
there's a couple of reasons why we're doing this, and there's a couple of reasons or things that we're going to be doing more and more in the future. We're not just going to pull these lists. In the next upcoming week, we're going to have one of my texters from my company help text this list for Jonathan and the Houston squad. We're going to show you guys exactly how we text lists like this, what scripts we use, all that kind of stuff. That's going to be in next week's warm-up show. We're going to be generating text message leads for the Houston crew. So right now, Jonathan, you are the squad leader. We're going to give this list to you. We're going to let people reach out to you, and you guys are going to socialize, squad up, become friends, share resources, and help each other out and get deals from this list. What we want is we want you guys bringing the leads and conversations, challenges, issues, hurdles, those kind of things to Wholesale Hotline Facebook group so we can overcome those types of deals together and get Houston crew some deals. So, Jonathan, thank you for coming on the show, bro. I always appreciate seeing you.
Man, appreciate y'all and looking forward to hanging in Phoenix. And I can't wait to make some money from this list. So thank y'all for that.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. We'll email you the list. We'll give you like a Dropbox link or something. Everybody reach out to Jonathan Mark in Houston that wants to squad up with him. And maybe, Jonathan, if you don't mind, jumping into the Wholesale Hotline Facebook group, making a post and just telling people who you are and how to reach out to you.
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
Thank you, brother. Have a good day.
Peace.
Hey, Annie, thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to give you guys an update, we're halfway done pulling the list.
Holy crap.
3,000, so almost there.
So what happens, Annie, do you, is there another button that you click to skip trace it?
There is, and that's why I'm just waiting for the entire list to actually load, and you can see the number right here. So we were around 8,000.
Yeah.
We're at 4,000 now, so we have just about halfway there. And then what we do is just select all, and then all you do is just skip trace. So just select and skip trace. That's it.
Select, skip trace, and then it'll prompt you. It'll tell you how much that costs.
Yep, it will actually give you an estimated value. So the reason it gives an estimated because it only charges you for what is returned. You don't get charged for what you submit. It's only the result.
Come on. Annie, stepping it up. So wait a second. You don't have to pay for addresses that don't come back with phone numbers.
No, not with us.
Come on. Use the code SQUAD, guys. Oh, my gosh. That's unbelievable. Really cool.
Annie, hey, everybody give some love to Annie in the comments. We've got about 350 people watching live between all of our platforms. Give Annie some love. She is like the sweetest person in wholesale. She's always helping. She's coming in on Saturdays, even though I know she'd rather be hiking with her dog. She is much happier. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Check this out. Yo.
Oh no, he's back.
Hi, the flip man.
Hi, the flip man. Yeah.
Hello.
Last time I saw Ty, he was on TikTok.
Bringing that steely demeanor.
How are you guys?
So guys, we're going to be here's what we're going to do next week. We've got Tom Krol coming up here in a couple of minutes. Next week, to encourage Houston to continue to squad up with each other, we are going to take that list of 8,000 manufactured homes in Houston that you just watched us pull, and we are going to have my text messenger, Andres, who's been with us for 2 years. He's going to do a live text campaign, texting those leads and showing you exactly how we reply, what kind of wording we use, etc. That's going to be next week's Wholesale Hotline warm-up show. What time does that start, Brent?
4:30 Pacific time, 7:30 on the East Coast for all our East Coast friends. It's going to be absolutely, I'm telling you, this was great pulling the list. It is critical. You have to pull the right list, but seeing it in action, let's put our money where our mouth is. You know what I mean? This is going to be really exciting. Get the action going, see the leads coming in, and start sending those out into Houston. So it's going to be really, really, really cool. And but it all starts with the list. You got to be really smart with the list, because you can spend a lot of wasted time. You can spin your wheels a lot going after properties that'll never do business with you because there's no signs of distress. Remember, we work with people that are in distress. We solve problems. People trade equity in their house for speed and convenience. We find them by filtering every house in your market down into a distress list and go hard at those distress lists. We cold call them. We text them. We knock on doors. Some people send mail. Maybe Tom Krol can talk about some of that. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. So the list is critical if you're going to go directly to somebody, as opposed to maybe like an internet lead where you're trying to get them, you're trying to pull them with some sort of marketing magnet.
Love it. Hey, Jamil, so why don't you say hi, man?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Hey.
Hello.
Are you in your kitchen with your magic mystery wall?
Yep, we're hanging out in my living room today. We left the Keegley. We were driving to the batch office, and then we ended up stopping off here. So yep, we are remote today.
Love it. Annie, Annie, I'm going to let you go.
Please do. I'm going to go ahead and skip trace the files for you guys.
Love you, appreciate you, and we will email that over to Jonathan Mark. So anybody that wants to squat up in Houston, reach out to Jonathan Mark in the Wholesale Hotline Facebook group. That list will be divvied out, and Jonathan is going to talk about the best ways that everybody can work together on that list without overwhelming that list. Jonathan knows what to do. He's in the TTP program. He's in the Sub 2 program. He is amazing. So reach out to him, guys. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you.
Hey, Brent, I'm going to make a suggestion, because I think that there's only one person here that can handle the energy that Tom Krol brings to the table. Number one, I told you guys this the other day. I said, when Tom Krol speaks, I listen. I shut everything down. I take notes. He's an amazing person, amazing businessman, and he has given me some of the best advice I've ever gotten in my life. Not in the last year, in my entire life. He's an amazing man, but I don't have the energy to keep up with him. I think that today we got to pass this over to Brent and let you run the show and the interviews and decide what questions we're going to ask. Are you okay with that?
100%. Yeah, love that. Would be honored to. Tom Krol. Nobody has coached more successful students than Tom Krol. Okay, it's just a fact. The Wholesaling Inc. podcast gets 9,000 downloads every single day for a reason. And that's because it is just absolutely filled with value and instruction. Okay, not only is he just an encouraging and loving human being that truly cares about every single person that's listening to this, the small group of people that want to be real estate investors, want to be financially free from finding and sourcing discounted properties. Of course, he loves everybody there, but more than anything, he wants to push you to the next level. He wants to push you out of your comfort zone so that you are taking action every single day. He has the best equation for success that I've ever seen. And it talks about it is not about education plus action equals results. It is the action plus the results is your education. So with that, if you would bring on the Tom Krol, the number one, the head rhino from his cabin in Georgia. Tom, say hello to everybody.
Hey, Jamil, Pace, Brent, good to see you. I don't know who's in the blue shirt.
That's
who is
Flip
that?
Man.
It's Ty the Flip Man.
Ty the Flip Man.
Flip Man. Good to see you. How's everybody today?
So the way,
best.
Tom, the way that this show works is people post their comments. We pick them up. We put them on the
I
screen.
can't hear you.
Huh?
Hold on, let's see.
All right, turn it up. Turn it up. I don't know if he's got internet. No, well, he obviously has internet in the woods. There he is.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can't hear anyone. Hold on 1 second.
Classic.
I had you for a minute.
Yeah, when we were doing the pregame warm-up show, he could hear us just fine. So he's just got a little bit of a adjustment that he's got to make. No big deal.
Oh man, come on.
It's good. I don't know if somebody can work on the back end, but Jamil, how are you?
Awesome, man. I'm having a great day. It's a Monday. It's a great day to be a wholesaler. Great day to do deals. We've got, Flip Man just made a quick trip into town. Happy to see you guys. How was your weekend?
Well, sold another deal to you last week. Sold another deal to you. We have a few more that we locked up, which is really exciting.
Awesome.
And it seems like everything just is continuing to roll and roll and roll, which is really exciting. We've been working with really training with our acquisition managers, Pace, and you can probably tap into this a lot, but really going, my acquisition manager, he wants to try to get everything done over the phone, where I feel like there's slippage if he's not going on the appointments. Can you kind of talk to that a little bit, Pace? And maybe it's something that people are wondering about a lot is it better to go face-to-face or to lock up these deals over the phone if you're in the same market? This is obviously different if it's virtual, but do you have a preference, Pace? And then I'll send that to you. Tom, can you hear me?
I got you loud and clear.
Awesome.
That's a great question. I had actually my sales meeting today, and we went through our KPIs as it relates to our sales team. The KPI that we went through and we found out 80% of our deals right now are being done virtually in our own market. The other 20% are older people who say, I don't know how to work technology, or it's somebody who is talking to so many other wholesalers. We feel like we've got to have the competitive advantage and get face-to-face. We locked up a deal today. Specifically, the lady lives in South Scottsdale. She says she's signing with us because we were the only people willing to come out to her property.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
I think you got to look at it and say 80% of your deals can be done over the phone, but you have to use your own discerning ability and filter out and say, I need a competitive advantage here. So many people are talking to this seller. I need to go out, show eyeballs to eyeballs to get that contract done.
Awesome. Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I like to chase deals, right? So I want to get in there, build a rapport, and I will tell you this, guys. Once I get in there, if they're selling the house, they're selling it to me, right? And that's the key. I think the number one thing is if they're going to sell that property, I'm going to build rapport, because it's not about the property, right? It's about why are they selling, right? It's about how worried they are about the grandfather clock that has to move down to Miami from Baltimore. And that's really the number one thing.
Love it. Love it. And it was interesting, Tom. I did an interview today with your brother, Todd Toback, right?
Okay.
And, oh, good. Okay. And he was talking about, we were talking about a common objection that we run into, which is send me your proof of funds, or send me your, or how many deals have you done, or how much business have you done, or how long have you been in business? And Todd was like, listen, 99.99% of the time, those people will never do business with you. It doesn't matter what you say. So just be honest with them. Just tell them tell them what it is.
I think the key is ABL, right? Always believing. So I think what a new wholesaler has to remember is that every single question from a seller is an objection, right? So if they ask you, what color is the car you're driving? Your response should always be, what most wholesalers do, right, is they lean in and they try to convince. and they say, well, I drive a red car, which means I can get here faster. But what you have to do is you have to say, hey, I've got a blue car. Is that going to stop me from buying your house today? Right. So I think what is really important is if your dog runs out of the house and you want to catch it, if you start running after it, it's going to run away. And if you start chasing it, if you start running away from it, it'll chase you. So you've always got to be in the mentality. If you're a brand new wholesaler and you don't know anything about anything, which it's the strongest position you can be in, because wholesaling real estate has absolutely zero to do with real estate. It has nothing to do with real estate. The only reason I do houses is because they're more valuable and desirable than watches, right? So if tomorrow watches became more desirable and more valuable than houses, I would just switch my model to watches or to televisions or to boats or to whatever. So the only reason we do houses is for that reason. So the key is, it's kind of like dating, right? You've got to be, and I've been married to Julie for over 20 years, right? So, so I don't know anything about dating. Don't ask me any dating advice. But the whole idea is you've got to be confident, you've got to show up, you've got to be brutally honest, and you have to understand that you have $1 million in your pocket and there's 1,000 houses for sale. So they better get busy convincing you that you should give them your money. You don't get busy with them telling you all the reasons why they should sell you the house, about how great you are, because that lacks confidence. And the reason they're selling is because they're in trouble. There's always an impending event, whether you ultimately find it out or not, which is difficult to do. So we can show you a few tactics on how to do that. But I promise you, anybody who calls you off of a 32-cent postcard, there's a reason, right? There's a reason that they don't want to have an agent showing the house and all of that. So you've got to find that problem and solve it. And that's the key. So yeah, so I love it, but it has nothing to do with real estate. So if you're like, hey, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to start, if you just get good at finding discounted properties, you will find financial freedom very, very quickly. Don't worry about, a lot of new wholesalers, they go in, they have like a sheet of paper with a rehab, and they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. Then they start to lie, because how can they not lie, right? Because they have like a rehab sheet. Meanwhile, they've never replaced a granite countertop in their whole life, right? Either have I, by the way. I mean, I have a guy who comes in to change my light bulbs, and that's not a lie. So, so they've got very high ceilings here. So the whole thing is if you just want to practice brutal honesty, which is find out why they're selling, and if somebody's struggling and they're like, sometimes the sellers, they just kind of dance around the topic. They'll say something like, we're empty nesters, which really isn't a reason. One of the little tricks is the when will reveal the why. Right. So if your seller is just not giving you an answer, just say, hey, when would you like to sell by? When were you hoping to sell by? And then they'll usually say something like, oh, well, if I don't sell by February, it's going to go into tax foreclosure. It's like, oh, okay. Right. So now we know why we're here. But they've got to see you as they've got to see you as the Coast Guard, right? They're a sinking ship. And if you pull up in some canoe with a hole in it, which is chasing them, they're not gonna put their trust in you. But if they see that you're the Coast Guard and you have brutal honesty and you're trying to help them and you have the ability and capacity to do that, then they'll sell you the house at a discounted price in exchange for speed and convenience. These are always people who've let a problem go for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, right? So they've ignored it. And as we know in life, all the great men and women who came before us, everything you ignore will fall apart, rot, and deteriorate, whether it's your family, whether it's your business, whether it's your house, and anything you pay attention to will just, do better. So it's easy peasy lemon squeezy.
I love it. And Jamil, talk to me, because, Tom just brought up a really good point. He said it's not about the real estate. When you're trading so many, you're trading 2, 3, 4, 10 deals a day. How does it feel to you? Do you feel like it's real estate? Do you feel like it's just trading something? Like mentally, how do you get in that space where you're not worried about every little detail about the property?
There's a level of disconnection, right? You have to be detached from the asset. You've got to be detached from the situation. And I love what Tom said, always be leaving. It's, even when we're working with another wholesaler, and they're trying to get in the way of the deal. It happens a lot, right? Where you've got somebody who's like, oh, no, I need to micromanage this situation. I need to get in the middle of it. I need to try to control this, control that, control this. And I'm always like, you know what? No problem. When you have everything figured out, let us know. Come back to us with the deal and we'll work on it. And then right away, they're like, oh, that's not what I meant. Okay, well, what are we talking about here? Because what you're focused on right now is not the deal. What you're focused on right now is not connecting the dots. What you're focused on right now is that your dot has a tiny little space in it that's not filled in and it's bothering you. And that whole mentality, that whole capacity not to look at the big picture is what unravels business all the time, right? It's what unravels partnerships. It's what unravels marriages. It's that when people just can't accept that everybody's got a part to play and they let people do their part. I think leaving the having that attitude of always be leaving is 100% not only a real thing, but it makes the seller value you. It makes the seller understand.
Bam.
We walk into there and we're all like, will they like me? Will they think I smell good? Will this clipboard I'm holding play as a prop? Right? No. It's like you walk in and you're like, you know what? It's funny because people think I don't do seller direct anymore. I was just on a seller appointment 3 days ago, right? I'm communicating on a probate deal because it's from my insurance agent who loves to send me deals. When someone passes away, my insurance agent talks to the family about the death benefit. And right at that conversation, he says, you know, I know someone who could potentially help you with the estate. Why don't I give you their referral? And then I'm in the deal. So here I am at a property not too far from my house. And as soon as I walk in, I'm like, oh, this house is really nice. I don't think you want a cash buyer. What you want to do is spend $50,000 and deal with an agent. You need top dollar for this. Let me put you in touch with a great contractor, and let me put you in touch with the best realtor in town. And right away, it's backtrack. No. I called a cash buyer because I want to understand what you can do for me. Oh, okay. In that instance, let's talk about it there, because this whole, reaching for the stars type mentality or whatever that they're looking for, the thing that the game they're trying to play with me is not the one I'm playing with them.
Love it.
And if I could, let's just talk about, because somebody might be new and they might be listening to this and they'll be saying like, oh, you guys are so skilled, especially Tom is so good looking. So this is so easy for you guys, right? So let me just give you the basic core element of how to do this tonight, because anybody who's really serious, if you're at rock bottom and you want to change your life right now, right? You are powerful. You are strong. You are made in the image of God. You can do this right now. There's no reason to go to bed after this broadcast. You should go out and do a deal, right? Especially if you have a family to take care of, right? So if you want to go do a deal tonight, let me give you, you don't need sales books. You don't need Oren Clef. You don't need negotiating. You don't need Chris Voss. All you need is this brutal honesty. Everybody operates with, I'm afraid if I tell the seller this, I'm going to lose the deal. Here's the newsflash, right? You don't have a deal. Most people who own a home don't want to sell it. The majority of people who want to sell a home don't want your lowball offer. This is a small minority of people, right? So your job is to get through all the no's as fast as possible. But when you start lying, and not that you're lying intentionally, but you're pretending that you're a rehabber, or you're getting you're talking about words you don't really understand, like equity and cap rate or whatever the heck all that stuff means, which I don't even really know. The bottom line is brutal honesty. Whatever you're afraid, and this is how you can do it. If you can practice it right now, this is how you can practice it. Whatever you're afraid to tell the seller because you think you're going to lose the deal, that's when you say it right then. As soon as you're like, oh man, if the seller knew I wasn't going to live here, they wouldn't like me. Oh man, the seller, here's a great question. This is a nice house. Why don't you list it with a real estate agent? Seller, this is a nice home in a nice area. Why don't you become a landlord? So common sense, you have to be childlike, which is why this is such a good business for me, because I got a 990 on my SAT, right? So this is like perfect. But the whole thing is don't try to, that whole advice of like act as if, worst advice ever given in the history of real estate investing. Do not act as if. Boil it down to childlike understanding, and don't leave that living room until you've got that contract signed, because you've built rapport and you understand why they're selling. And if you take that brutal honesty, some people will say, yeah, I should list with an agent. I want top price. If somebody says I want top price and you're a wholesaler, always remember, you will never win on top price. Wholesalers will never win on price. So you could train in sales and negotiating for years, but it's not going to make any difference. You're just going to get to the no a lot slower, probably at the closing table or the day after. So that's kind of, I think, the key there is just understand that wholesalers never win on price, and be willing to ask the tough questions as soon as you feel it. And you'll feel it in your belly. So some of you guys know what I'm talking about. But as soon as you feel it in your belly, like, oh man, what happens if I say this? What is the seller going to think? That's immediately the time to be brutally honest with the seller. And that's how you can do all of that in such a short amount of time. And you don't need, what's the best latest book on sales, Dale Carnegie or Sandler or Chris Voss was an FBI negotiator. That's all great. I love reading books and I love sales and negotiating. But if you just want to do a deal tonight, that's the way you do it. Brutal honesty.
I love it. And this is a good question from Paul, because I think that this is really what is stopping a lot of people from that brutal honesty is not coming across rude. And what I will say, and you guys can, and Pace, you get into this as well, is I would say 95% of rudeness is delivery. Okay. It's the tone of voice that you use, and it's the way that your face looks when you're saying it. Okay. If you're having a good conversation and you're like Tom and you're smiling and you're saying, why don't you list this house? Why don't you do this? Why don't you keep it as a rental? I probably can't give you the most amount of money. I'm probably just going to sell this to somebody else anyway. Like whatever it is, right? It's the delivery is the most important thing. So don't go in there brutal honesty. Just go on. I mean, you can, but just do it in a sense that is a comforting tone where you're not just totally beating them over the head and confusing them emotionally by being really aggressive and verbally attacking,
Brent, it's funny that you talk tone, and I think tone and intention have a lot to do with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What are my intentions in this meeting? What am I trying to accomplish here? Who am I here to help? And if I start to understand that I'm not helping myself, then I might be a jerk, right? I might start to get rude. I might start to get fast. I might start to get aggressive. All these things can happen because I'm starting to feel like I'm going to lose a benefit.
Yep.
Right? But if I walk into that without having it in my heart to benefit myself, and I'm truly there to benefit the person that I'm talking to by offering a solution that I can offer in the skills that I have, then there should never be a point where I come off rude. I should always be able to deliver the best solution for a seller with the most grace possible because it's the right thing to do.
100%.
A great example of anybody who wants to see this live, if they want to see wholesalers live in action, right, is just put on Pawn Stars. Because as soon as the guy walks in with the Rolex watch, he says, oh, that's a really nice watch. Why would you consider selling it? Tell me about the watch. Oh, my grandfather got it in World War II. He fought and he hid the watch and then he got it back and they gave it to me, but I really need money. Why do you need money? Well, I don't think I can buy this. I mean, it's just like
best I can do. Yeah.
Right. So I think the thing is, and I always say wholesaling is like a pawn shop, right? It really has nothing to do with the real estate. It's all about these people are coming in, they know what they're doing. All the sales and negotiating training in the world is not going to, you don't want to be a deal creator. You want to be a deal finder, right? So if you're brand new and you're just starting out and you don't know where to start, this is the best news you could have ever gotten, because the people who are deal creators have difficult, frustrating jobs. The people who are deal finders put really simple systems in place. They delegate those systems and then they go to a cabin in the woods, right? And they just relax. So the whole thing is just be a deal finder. Don't be a deal creator. So if you can get really good at finding a lot of deals really quickly, you'll find financial freedom. You could delegate that system easily. But all of the back and forth with the negotiating and this and that and trying to like create a deal. You should do creative financing. I mean, Pace obviously is a genius at that stuff and putting deals together creatively. But finding deals is your best bet. And then getting into the creative part. Once somebody says, "Hey, yeah, you know what? I haven't paid my taxes in 3 years. They're about to take it. I live out of state. The renter's destroyed it. Just help me out." That's the key.
Hey, speaking of creative financing, Errol Hart his name is Errol Richards. He's out of Atlanta. Last time I physically saw him, he's on the screen. You guys can see his name. Jamil and I were in Atlanta, and Errol was homeless, living out of the back of a UPS store. And today he called me and told me he's going to be a homeowner again. He's buying a home subject to, and he utilized wholesale as a way to get to that point. So Errol, we're going to ring the bell for you, brother. In 4 months, he went from being homeless to sleeping in the back of a UPS store to being a homeowner, utilizing wholesale as a way of generating leads. And then he converted a tougher deal utilizing creative financing. So guys, show Errol some love. Amazing, amazing story he told me about this morning. He's helping out some veterans, which is another cool thing we get to do, guys. Help so many sellers by solving problems. It's so freaking fun. Sorry to interject there. I just saw Errol's name and I couldn't hold myself back.
Hey, is Tariq in the background? Can you get him on to ask this question?
Yes. Let's get him on here.
So Tariq, hey. So we're talking
what's
to
up?
somebody that's in Army barracks right now. Okay, he's in Richmond, right? Richmond, Virginia, on the Army barracks. What do you got for us, Tariq?
Bam.
All right, so a quick question that I have is, what's the one thing for a new wholesaler to take yourself from doing basically 2 to 3 deals to doing a lot more?
You want to start us off, Tom?
Who do you want to direct that question to?
It's to you first.
Anybody.
Okay.
You, Tom.
Yeah. So, oh man, I love this question. What a good question. First of all, where's my victory bell? I need a victory bell at the cabin because 2 to 3 deals. Did you say a month or a week?
A month.
Hey, Tom, he's a rhino in the TTP family.
All right, Rhino, good stuff. All right, so here's what we got. So, number one, for if you want to increase your deal flow, right? If you look at the guys and girls who are constantly doing 40, 50, 80, 100, $200,000 a month, right? If you look at those people and you say, what are they doing differently than the other people who are just kind of in that middle phase where they're doing a handful of deals? The number one thing that you need to focus on, in my opinion, is number one is increasing your average deal size, right? And automating that process, right? Because you need more revenue because you're in a growth stage. And the only thing that grows our bodies, right, is the blood. The blood of our company is our margin. So number one thing I would focus on is deal size. I know that Brent has, through Todd Toback, this is an amazing way to do that. Very simply, it's a no-brainer. So that's number one. Number two is, do you have any acquisition managers?
No, just starting off.
Okay, so the key here is definitely an AM, because 2 to 3 deals a month is enough. That's enough activity. That your only focus in life should be, how do I make my acquisition manager super uber duper wealthy? That's what I did, and you don't have to. I hired just my brother. He was out in Colorado he was baking bread out there. I brought him in and he was doing it for me and he loved it. And what I basically did is it was 3 to 4 weeks of him following me around with a pad and paper. And I was in charge. I doubled down on my marketing. And then it was 3 to 4 weeks with me following him around where he would do all the talking with the seller. I was taking notes and then getting back with him in the car and saying, hey, and this is what you did wrong. Now get back in the house and go get the contract, right? So that's basically all I did. The only transition there is there's a lot of in acquisition manager training, but the number one key is, as soon as you hire an acquisition manager, number one, having a total abundance mindset, right? So a lot of times somebody will hire somebody, they don't want to share everything because they're afraid that the acquisition manager is going to start their own business. Who cares? They won't do that 99% of the time anyway, but who even cares about that? There's no competition, only collaboration. So be a total open book. It's great to have like a mentor-mentee type relationship with that person. And as soon as that person comes in, double down on your marketing. And here is the key. Whatever you're doing to get deals, do more of it. One of the rookie mistakes that new wholesalers make when they start to want to grow is, instead of doing more of what already works, they start to experiment with stuff that only works when you're 100% focused, right? So the key is, if you like bandit signs are definitely the best marketing channel. There's no doubt about it. Do more bandit signs. If you like direct mail is definitely the best marketing channel. There's no doubt about that. Just do more direct mail, right? Billboards, television ads, PPC, SEO, cold calling. It doesn't really matter. Whatever you think is best, but dominate one channel. This is the one commonality between the wholesalers who are struggling and the ones who are successful is if you go into a RIA meeting and you're like to a struggling wholesaler, you ask them, what are you doing to find deals? They say, well, I hand wrote a few cards, I cold call a few agents, I cold call a few sellers, I did one PP campaign, I put up a YouTube video. When you talk to somebody who's making $50,000 a month, you say, what are you doing to find deals? They always give you the same answer. They say, I'm doing this one marketing channel. I totally dominated in my market. I know exactly what color works, exactly what font, exactly when to send it, exactly how to take the call, whether it should go to live answer or voicemail or whatever it is, because they know that marketing channel totally. When you own one marketing channel and you totally dominate it, which is so much easier than doing multiple channels at the same time, which just dilutes your effort and weakens you. But when you do one channel and you totally just rhino it, what happens is you can split test. You understand everything about it. You know when to put it in. You start to get like intuitive in your belly, right? You're making decisions on your belly because you're watching those KPIs. You're not breaking any of the rules of marketing. When this is a numbers game, most people don't want to sell their house, and most people who want to sell their house want full price. So you've got to be extraordinarily good, especially in your growth stage of hiring acquisition managers, of totally dominating that one channel, right? And doubling and quadrupling down on that one channel as you start to grow. And then once it's totally consistent, right, which is basically a marketing channel is like a business, right? It's something that is producing a consistent result that you delegate to somebody else. At that point, then you move on to another channel. And that is a really fast way to grow your team and to grow your business from 2 to 3 deals a month to 5 to 10 deals a month is increase your deal size, bring on an acquisition manager, and double down on one marketing channel and measure those KPIs. That's the most important thing. And I'll give you one KPI that's very important. This is the most important KPI that you can possibly track. And every wholesaler on this call knows the answer to this question, which is this. Whenever you're doing direct seller marketing, meaning that the marketing goes out and the phone calls come in, whenever you're doing that, the most important KPI, which stands for key performance indicator to track, is this. How many incoming calls equal a deal? That's it. Don't try to differentiate the leads. This guy hung up. This guy didn't leave a message. This guy was angry. This guy was hot. It doesn't matter. How many incoming phone calls equal one deal? Because if you know that and you want to buy $1 million house, all you've got to do is reverse engineer that number, right? So all you have to do is work backwards to say, okay, I know that 39 deals and 39 phone calls equal one deal. And I know my average deal size is $18,000. I know that my cost to get that $18,000 deal is $2,300. So I just need to do X amount of deals and I could buy $1 million home. Does that make sense?
Hey, Tom, can I interrupt for just a second?
Yep.
I had Rudy, who is one of my students, flew in from Fresno to spend the whole week here in my Phoenix office. And he asked me one question this morning, and I went off for 2 hours specifically about exactly what you just talked about. I said, I only follow 2 KPIs as like a high, we're at a point where we're doing, wholesale, we're doing about 12 deals to 16 deals a month. And then we're doing another 10 deals on top of that with creative financing. I'm at a point where I'm not involved in every single transaction, but I look at 2 KPIs primarily. One, the most important KPI is how many leads to a converted deal we get. That is the most important KPI for me as the business owner. And then number 2, I look at my cost per contract, which tells me how many contracts I get against my overhead. Those are the only 2 things I look at. It tells me the entire lifeblood of my business. So, oh my gosh, I literally spent 2 hours just talking about this.
I mean, the thing is if you understand that, you can very seriously just explode your income in such a short amount of time, because when you understand that those are the basic parameters of marketing, right? People are looking at all kinds of stuff, right? They're like, oh, I know how to create a Podio report or create a field of Podio. I don't know what they're talking about, right? Just tell me how many phone calls equal a deal and you will find financial freedom. There's no doubt about it. I love it, Pace.
How do you go from doing a couple to 80 deals a month, Jamil?
Well, I removed all of the parts that were out of my control. Essentially, that's what I did, right? And so you guys know our model is a dispositions house. We like to work direct to investor, right? We do some direct to seller, but I'm working with wholesalers mostly, and so I have really removed acquisitions from my business model. Right. So now what I do is I focus in and I double down on my core competency. It's the same thing Tom is saying. My core competency, I know, is dispositions. I know that we can find buyers. We can find more buyers willing to trade than anybody else in the marketplace can. And the second thing is, Brent, I know my numbers better than most do. And so I can commit to a deal, right off the hop, like I did just this week with you and your team, Brent. You guys sent out a deal at 9 o'clock in the morning. At 9:01, I bought it, right? And then between 9:01 and 9:40, your team got blown up with another 50, 60, 80 calls.
Yeah.
All of them took their time comping that property and really slept on the fact that there was a deal there because they made it too hard. So for me, just like Tom says, I doubled down on my core competency. The only thing that I know, and like my KPI is going to be how many properties am I going to comp before I get a deal? Yep. And so we're doing the same type of activity. It's just on the other side, and I wholeheartedly agree with that, Tom. I think diluting yourself and doing 30, 40, 50 different things is what's the hardest part for new wholesalers today, because there's just shiny object syndrome all over the place, right? It's what's this or what's that. And when you just look down to the basics, it's like what Flipman used to do and still does. You just pick up the phone and do your deals, right? Right. So,
I would add to it too, is don't do it yourself, right? Tariq, I wouldn't hire you to be my bookkeeper to tell me KPIs, right? You know why I wouldn't hire you? Because you're on this line, right? Which means you're an entrepreneur. You're flying at 50,000 feet. You have big ideas all day. You don't like routine. You don't like details. No way you're getting anywhere near my books, right? So one thing I would do is outsource that. Anything, to what Jamil is saying is anything that is not in your wheelhouse, you should not be doing. Certainly marketing. At marketing, number one, because the first rule of marketing is consistency. So your marketing should be the first thing that you outsource before you even hire an acquisition manager. Marketing's got to be big. It's got to be singular. It's got to be consistent. It's got to be trackable. It's got to be reversible. And I wouldn't hire you to do my marketing. I wouldn't hire you to do my bookkeeping. So you shouldn't hire you either, right? You can go to Upwork or whatever for like $3, $4, $5, $6 an hour and get all that stuff done. But yeah, I love it. This stuff is so easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Well, and Tariq, what I would say is I think you got to look at what is your financial goal, right? And how can you get there with less deals, right? So that you can keep more. That's what I would look at. That's something that I learned from Todd Toback is if you're getting $50K a deal, you only need 2 of them and you've got $1 million business a month. Right now, if they're 5,000, 7,000, 10,000, you have to do a lot more. You have to have a lot more staff. And remember, this is critical. This is what nobody talks about and discusses before it happens. But you need to, and I know you are, but I'm speaking to the audience. You need to be a leader. Okay? Once you start hiring people and you're financially responsible for them, your leadership skills are going to come out. And you're either really bad at it, you're okay, or you're phenomenal. But I have seen people that understand that they can do 2 deals a month. They can make $50,000 a month. They can keep 75% of that. So they can keep 40 grand a month and don't have any overhead. They don't have any staff. They don't have any issues. They understand that they're going on all the appointments. They're doing all these things. Now, all of them, like Tom said, have somebody that manages their marketing and their lists and to keep them consistent. That's a no-brainer, but that's somebody that's very minimal cost. But there are some people that are going to be fine netting $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a month for themselves with no staff, and they're going to make a lot more money than the people that have 10, 15, 20 people on staff and they only net 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 a month from their business. So remember, it depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to have money for your family, to buy assets, to be financially free, then just look at how much can you do, right? What you're comfortable with, what gives you energy and doesn't drain you of energy every day. There's no use in you just being a shell of yourself emotionally and physically and you're spiritually and you're just trying to make money. That doesn't work. It doesn't work long term. It has to be sustainable. But you have to look at what is the main goal. How can you get more per deal, 100%? And if you're going to make the decision to hire somebody, how is your leadership skills and how are you going to be comfortable being financially responsible for people? Those are the important things. And you've got all that. I'm not worried about you. I'm just talking to everybody out there. Everybody is a little bit different. Okay.
Brent, can I add to that?
Yep.
Can I just answer that for once? I just want to say something. It's like, isn't it incredible, right? That like we're having this conversation and we're even entertaining the idea is like that a dollar amount enough and what are your goals? I mean, because if you just think back for a second, right?
Yeah.
I was literally like, I was going through a bankruptcy. I got fired from my job. My wife is crying because she doesn't want to buy groceries because we didn't have enough to pay the mortgage, and we didn't want to lose our house. We had already gone through one foreclosure, and now we were going through a bankruptcy. I was cutting lawns in Florida, and I do not have the body type to be cutting lawns in Florida for income. It was a nightmare, and I'm literally, as I'm on this, I'm just smiling because I'm hearing these numbers, and there's like, I have these hummingbirds and they're all on this feeder right behind the camera. I've got to get this, and like the sun is setting and they have these like really colorful throats and they're iridescent and they're like shining in the sunlight. I'm like, what is going on right now? This is the greatest business in the whole world. I love it.
Yep.
It's crazy.
You're absolutely right. Man. I mean, it is. And I just had Tariq's on the Wholesale Wholesaling Inc. podcast. He just closed a $17,000 deal. I mean, he's got the momentum going. He just wants to keep it going and he's serving our country. So we thank you for that. And just incredible. But did that give you every single angle of that question that you could possibly ask for?
Yeah.
Hey, Tariq, I do want to give one piece of advice, something that we struggled with that I feel like we've really perfected in the last 6 or 7 months. Hiring and training and onboarding acquisition managers can turn into a full-time job, because if you hire them, even if they're the right person, what happens if their wife gets pregnant, or what happens if life happens? You got to replace that person. You need to record what you're doing right now. If you're not making videos about your own business, I would invest in Loom, Loom, so you can record yourself doing work on your computer. I would use Trainual.com so you can talk to people and onboard them without you even being there. And you just say, hey, here's 35 videos of exactly how to be an acquisition manager in my business. When I'm not available, go to these videos. That's what myself and Cody Barton, my partner, did, is we systematized our onboarding process. So now when somebody gets hired, they go watch 30 videos and then they have 1 or 2 hours of onboarding face-to-face before they hit the phone. It doesn't take time off of our plate. So what Tom was talking about earlier, so many people, what they do is they remove themselves rather than replace themselves. Yeah. They remove themselves from what's working and they go work on the shiny object stuff, and the things that were working, they've completely removed any work. And so what you need to do is replace yourself, not remove yourself. And the way to do that is by onboarding videos, training, and a system that will allow you to do it without having to physically do it yourself every time.
Replace, don't remove.
Yes.
One quick point. Pace just brought up a really good point. He just reminded me of something. Pace is so key. Tariq, this is the key also. Personality tests are not, no matter what you've heard, are not good indicators of who to hire, but they are awesome resources on who not to hire. So one thing that you could definitely look at, when you want to go through those, like Tony Robbins has ones for that is based on that program he teaches, and there's a few. Some of them are free online, but a personality profile test. and high D and low I and all of that. Great indicator of who not to hire. That's a great way to just say, nope, not a good fit.
So I don't know how you guys do this, but I saw this get popped up, and it sounds like the ability to scale. Tom's advice was primarily talking about replace yourself with an acquisition manager. So how do you guys pay your acquisition managers? Tom, do you have good advice for your students? Or Brent, what do you guys tell your students? How should you guys pay your acquisition managers?
Yep. 10 to 15% for us. Sorry, Tom. 10 to 15%.
No, go ahead.
Depending on, I've had one acquisition manager that's been with me for over 3 years. So I just pay her more. Things just go a lot smoother, and she's a killer. And then when they start out, 10%. Typically, what I'd have to do is do a base when they're starting out for the first 90 days, $2,500, because it takes some time to get things rolling. So I did a base of $2,500, and then when they close something there, they'd pay the $2,500 back and then get 10%. You know what I mean? Like they wouldn't actually pay it back, but you guys get it.
So
go ahead.
No, sorry. Go ahead, Tom.
No, I was just going to say, like, it's funny, when I was broke, I would have given somebody like a big base salary. I was like very generous that way. The more money I make, I used to think that wealthy people were cheap, but what I really learned in the past few years is that wealthy people are really good stewards of the money that God blesses them with, right? So it's not that they're cheap, it's that they're paying attention to what they're doing. They're not sloppy, right, with their money. Well, I always like commission only, bottom line. I don't care if you're my director of marketing. I don't care if you're my director of whatever, all these different people. Almost everybody who works with me in any company I own is almost always compensated with commission only. It's specifically to acquisition managers. This has to do a lot with the average size deal that you're getting and whether or not this person is a relative or not. But the bottom line is I was doing 20%, but what I did at first is I flooded our company with so much marketing, and I was giving him, even while he was in training, I was giving him that percentage, even though I was really doing the work. And I did that too because I wanted to. It's one thing to draw down on paper, but it's another thing when now all of a sudden you have a $50,000 whatever check or month for wherever you're at, and you have to take out 20% or 15 or 10%. So yeah, I like commission only. I know some people also do a draw. I don't really like draws. And the only other thing I would say is to make sure that you get with a real estate attorney in your state, because how you compensate and guys, let me say this: if you're brand new, the only people making fun of attorneys are poor people. You never hear wealthy people making fun of attorneys. I know people who are worth $100 million, $200 million, $600 million. I've never heard one attorney joke out of any. As a matter of fact, when I go out to dinner with them, usually there's one or two attorneys sitting at dinner with them, right? So get a good real estate attorney. Ask them any question about this, but especially compensating acquisition managers. You want to make sure that your AM is not acting like a broker if they don't have a license. So do you incorporate them into your LLC? Or how do you do that? But yeah, just a side note, is make sure you have a really good real estate attorney, because rules and regulations are different in every state, which is so key.
Awesome. Can we get Ryan on here?
Yeah, let's bring him up.
Yeah. Ryan.
Yo, what's up, guys?
Hey, welcome to the Wholesale Hotline.
Appreciate it.
Bam.
Thanks for having me.
What question do you have, buddy?
All right. So, I mean, this one's pretty vague. It's open for all of you guys. But if you guys had to pick one marketing channel to go in to get some deals, what would you guys go with?
I know what mine is.
Right? I know that could go, I mean, it could go direct to seller. We can go Jamil's model with you're going with other investors. But I would love to see what you guys had to say on that.
Awesome. Thank you. Ryan is actually one of our mentors in our Astro Flipping program. He's helping other. He's done an amazing job over the last 18 months growing he's a realtor, a retail agent who has grown a wholesaling vertical within his business and has added, tens of thousands of dollars of revenue to his already existing retail business through wholesaling. So, congrats, Ryan, for all that success. And I'll start that answer if that's okay, Brent.
Yep.
Personally, I really truly believe that the most benefit that you can have is the long game, right? And so I'm a little different than the cold caller, the texter, the direct mailer. I have always played the long game. I have always doubled down on relationships. I think that I could do, and I've done 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 deals with the same person over and over and over again. So I love referrals. I'm going to say that referrals are the best way. They're evergreen. They will keep you in business for a long, long time. You don't spend money to get referrals. All you have to do is a good job.
Love it. Tom?
Yeah, so here's what I would say, and this is the most true, Ryan. I could tell you this is all of the men and women who came before us have already told us this. There's nothing new under the sun, right? There's nothing new that we're talking about here. Everything is 100% proven and already done. We're just on journeys of paths that other people have already taken. And the real true answer on this question is, whatever you think is the most effective channel is. Just exactly like your marriage or the relationship you have with your children or whatever it is, it's all going to be based on your belief system. I can tell you that I know that sounds like a really cheesy answer, but after 10,000 hours of coaching literally thousands of people, I will have people who will say, X, Y, and Z and A, B, and C. I can tell you for me personally, I love direct mail because I especially love direct mail when direct mail is kind of seasonal. Like everyone's like, oh, direct mail is so great. And then it kind of like people are like, oh, it's so saturated, even though that's just an emotional response. It's not really based on real data. But that's what I love to double down even more, right? Is when people are like, oh, direct mail is really hard right now. I love direct mail because it hits all of the points of marketing for me. It's not people based. So when I outsource it, I don't have to outsource it to people. It's just a system. I love direct mail because it's scalable really quickly. I love direct mail because I can always reverse engineer it. So if I want to buy something, I am literally in my brain always calculating how many pieces of direct mail do I need to like Ford is coming out with a new Bronco. My immediate thing, I was watching a video on this new Bronco that's coming up for 2021 so I could go off-roading. So my immediate calculation is how many postcards do I have to send out in order to get that Bronco, right? So I love it because it's very reversible, right? It's very trackable. If I want to slow down, I can slow it down. If I want to keep momentum going and increase it, I can do that. So I love direct mail, especially when it seems to be out of season, which is my favorite time.
For sure.
Pace?
If I'm by myself, I have no other business owners, no partners, no employees. 100% of my time would be spent on probate attorneys and referrals from them. In fact, Jamil and I are working a really good one right now. Shout out to Jamil. Thank you so much. Probate attorney refers the deal to me. I solved the problem for the seller that nobody else can solve. The probate attorney referred the deal to me, so the seller stops talking to anybody else because I was referred to them by the probate attorney. I then had Jamil sell the deal off. We all make money, and I had zero marketing dollars. I only, like Jamil said, I only had to do a good job. Now, if I am building and scaling a business and I need to spend money on marketing, which is probably where your question's really coming from, I would primarily text message mobile homes.
Appreciate that.
Love it.
Bam.
Yeah, Ryan, I would find the 100 worst, ugliest houses within a 5 mile, maybe mile radius, depends on where you're at. I'd write them all down. I'd go to batch skip tracing. I'd spend $15, and I'd just start hand dialing all those people. The 100 ugliest houses, I would hand dial them, and for $15, I would turn it into $15, $20, $25, maybe $50,000 right now before any of you guys got a deal.
Bam!
I love it.
Yeah, make
Love
sure
it.
you use the code SQUAD. All right? Make sure you're using the code SQUAD. Flipman, you've been pretty silent over here, but everybody wants to hear from you for a quick sec. What's your favorite marketing channel?
Well, I always like to take it from the approach if someone doesn't have any money or very little money that they can come up with. So and then also I take in account that everyone is not as extroverted as a lot of you guys are, right? So you make you simplify it for yourself by getting people to call you. All right. So like all of these, but I like to always say all of this stuff works. You just have to be consistent with it. But if I just had to just recommend someone spending between $300 to $500 on a set of bandit signs, that's where I got cut my teeth. Still do them today because they're so inexpensive, and the return can be unbelievable if it's done correctly. But it's an ongoing thing. All markets are not equally designed to place signs, so you have to be sometimes creative with it. But like I said, I always take it from the approach of the person that may have the least, skills and resources to succeed. So we'll go with getting people to call you, being able to reach a lot of eyeballs, just from just one method or whatever. We just had to go with that. So bandit signs is what I would recommend.
I think everybody knew you were going to say bandit signs. The comments have blown up with everybody saying they learned bandit signs from your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Appreciate
what's
that,
amazing about bandit signs? Bandit signs have one of the highest. Everybody always says that internet leads like SEO and PPC have the highest conversion. I have found from my coaching that my students who do bandit signs have the highest conversion, hands down, if they're allowed in a city where you can do them.
Yeah.
But bar none, bandit signs. When you get a call from a bandit sign, that person's selling their house today. There's no doubt about it. I agree.
Awesome. And could I ask another question? Is that allowed? 2 questions?
Yeah.
Yeah,
go hotline, baby.
All right.
Don't ask.
Yeah, this is a fun one. So I guess when you get to the point where you're doing some deals and you've got enough capital built up, at what point do you consider partnering up with people, and where does it make sense? I know some of you guys have partners. So.
Yeah, no way.
Yeah. We'll let Brent answer that
No,
question.
no, let Tom answer it. Tom taught me.
There's only one kind of ship that doesn't sail. That's a partnership.
So we got a good diverse group here.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason to partner in this business because typically partnership is based on a lie, which is I'm not good at this and they're good at that, and I'm good at this and they're not good at that. The reality is this business is literally so simple. Like if I could do it, anybody can do it. So there's no reason, there's no benefit to partnering because now there's partnerships, and then there's partnering where you say if you're really broke and you're just starting, you say, hey, this person has money, can you pay for my marketing, and I'll give you first right of refusal on all of my deals, or I'll give you 50% of my revenue from that campaign. That's a different, but I'm talking like shared LLC in the same company partnership. I have never seen it work. Never. Now, I will say I have about 5 examples of people where it has worked, where people have gotten together, especially in wholesaling and partnership, and it worked. Typically, 4 of those 5 were husband-wife, and 1 was a pair of siblings. And what is interesting about those 5 that did work is that in every single case, the partner could run the business 100% without the other one. But I've never seen it work between friends, and I'm talking like a ton of examples. It just doesn't work. It's like this business it's such a short sales cycle, and it's really such an amplification of who you are. We're not running Fortune 500 companies, so it's such a short sales cycle, and it's such a reflection of who you are as a leader. And I just don't see it having. For me, I always do. I don't like to reinvent the wheel, right? So one thing I've learned is I came in and my stepbrother, my older brother, Todd Toback, taught me, and he was telling me about partnerships that they're not good, and I haven't seen it work. The people who've tried it have failed at it. There's also a lot of cash involved when they're successful in a very short amount of time, and if there's any little cracks or flaws, that will kind of crack that open too. A lot of times partnerships work because people don't make any money in other businesses, right? So you start a restaurant, it's a great partnership business, right? Because you're going to be broke for about 5 years and go out of business, and you guys can handshake and stay friends. This is not that kind of business, hopefully. So I think that's another part of it too.
Appreciate
that.
You thought
I was bad.
Yeah, right?
Well, I think I'll go next, and then you can hear the opposite side of the coin from Brent again, and maybe the other side from Pace. But Ryan, you're familiar with my partnership. it's one of the most healthy partnerships I've ever been in my life. One thing that Tom mentioned, which was interesting, is that it works when they're siblings sometimes. And one of my siblings is one of our partners at Keegley. The other thing, though, that I have to say is that I think that it goes into what's inside of everybody's heart and intentions when they're getting involved with one another, right? My two partners, Josiah and Hunter, I don't believe Keegley could be Keegley without them. If it was just my sister and I trying to grow this company to a point where we franchised it and went national, I couldn't see it happening. We absolutely need the leadership and vision of Josiah. We absolutely need the systems, the efficiency of Hunter. We absolutely, need my sister's construction and understanding of numbers and her initial investment that got the company off the ground. And we need my ability to comp. So, and buy houses. And all of us brought our pieces to the table. And with that, we've put together something magical. Now, again, it's magic, and magic doesn't always happen with the same ingredients. You need that spark, you need that piece. And I think the other thing that we all have that's shared is faith, right? It's not just, we're not in a partnership with each other. We're in a spiritual partnership, right? We 100% are, and we all believe that God is the foundation of the partnership. And in that, we are all tools to help each other and to make it grow. And so, I don't know, I do believe I'm in a magical situation, and I believe it's blessed by God. And maybe that's what's the glue that's binding us together, but that's my answer.
I love it. And I think that, Tom and I are similar in this because we don't have any plans or goals of franchising and growing this to potentially a Fortune 500 company, right? We don't have plans on owning, 1,500 doors like Pace. We just have different plans in life, right? And because of that, when you ask about the wholesaling business, you can, without a doubt, hire people for the roles that you need, right? You don't need a visionary, in my opinion. You don't need a visionary in this business. The book Rocket Fuel for a small one location wholesaling company is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Correct. Yeah, I agree.
Visionary and the integrator and all that, it's absolutely bananas if you're doing 2 to 10 deals a month. Okay. Now you want to take it over the top like Pace. You want to take it over the top like Pace and Jamil and Cody and Hunter and all and Josiah. Absolutely. I get it. But if you're just talking about a wholesaling business and you're just starting out, the biggest weakness that I see is you get a partner that's not going to pull their weight, and you're spending 70% of your effort looking over your shoulder, hoping that they're working as you're grinding the phones every day, as you're responding to texts every day, as you're doing all this. Listen, if you're going to have a partner because you need some support, I totally get it, but just have a plan that says, hey, once we make our first $1 million, let's sit back down and see if we still want to do this partnership or if we want to just do our own business. That's the way that I think from a wholesaling business standpoint. What you guys have is totally different, so I get it, and I support your guys' partnership, and I don't give you guys too much shit about it, but that's how I feel.
Let me just clarify, Ryan. My students normally are just starting out or have just done a few deals, and sometimes out of the wrong reasons, they will get a partner right out of the gate because they think that they're less than, right? I'm not good at this, so I'm going to bring in a partner, but they just need to have the courage to have the conversation to hire somebody and not to escape to a partnership. And typically I think when it's done that way, but I totally agree. Yeah. If your guys are going to be growing a big business, I have no business even giving any recommendation on that. But yeah, for new wholesalers, no partnerships. I don't see them working.
Well, for example, guys, I'm in partnership with Tom Krol.
Right.
We're business partnerships. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But it's not in our wholesaling business. It's in the coaching, right?
Right.
So I mean, I'm playing both sides of the line here, sitting here with one of my business partners. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
is
I
just
think
for
Ryan just likes
wholesaling.
to stir the pot, right? So that's what's up.
Well, I've got kind of an opinion cut down the middle, because I've got a lot of business partners in the past were just a mirror image of myself, right? It's people I liked hanging out with. I wanted a sounding board. I think that's the biggest challenge, is people want a sounding board to be around, and they want to bring on somebody that can hang around, right? Not somebody that actually adds benefit to their business. So I told one of my students in my sub2.com program, Ryan, ironically was his name. I won't say his last name because he's probably watching. I roasted him for a good hour and a half in front of 200 other students in a very positive, nurturing, loving way, because he wanted to partner with his brother in a wholesaling business that is only doing 2 to 3 deals a month. So I completely agree with Brent and Tom here. I also think that Jamil agrees too, because when I first started hearing about Jamil was like the biggest wholesaler without anybody even knowing who he was, right?
Yep.
Like, he didn't have partners. He didn't have an office. He is proof that you can do 15, 20 deals a month all by yourself. But when Jamil wanted to scale and elevate nationwide, he did need to, go to the Walt Disney model, which was you need a partner. Walt Disney would have failed. Disneyland would have failed without Walt's brother. Same thing with McDonald's and Ray Kroc and all these stories. There is a point where you do need somebody that the trust is not somebody you can hire. You cannot trust that level of, you cannot hire that level of trust. You have to partner with them. So you can close your eyes, go on vacation for 3 months, hand the keys over, come back, and the business is in good of shape or better than when you left it. That is a real partnership. And I can tell you, Tom is right. It is very rare to have that level of partnership. Jamil has it. I have it. Funny thing is, Cody Barton, my partner, is going on Steve Trang's show this coming Wednesday to talk specifically about what he does in our partnership that brings value that is the opposite of what I bring. So anybody that wants to hear that, take a look at Steve Trang's Real Estate Disruptors this Wednesday, 2 p.m. But honestly, I couldn't agree any more with every one of these guys. It just kind of depends on who you are and what part of your business you're in. And Ryan, if you just want to wholesale, I think Tom and Brent are 100% right. You can build that all on your own. But if you want to wholesale 15 plus houses a month, fix and flip, accumulate a buy and hold rental portfolio, you want to do all that stuff, I think you really got to start dating somebody. And Cody and I dated for 6 months before we sat down and said, should we partner on an LLC or should we just continue to JV? We had the dating period before we got married.
Yeah, and let me just
Appreciate
quickly
that.
preface, I dated Josiah and Hunter for a year before we tied the knot. So
I think that's a huge nugget right there.
That's
the
critical.
Period. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's all I got. I really appreciate that, and I definitely did not mean to stir the pot on that. I just knew there was a lot of diverse answers on that. So I appreciate you guys.
That's
thank
good.
you, man.
Ryan, you're the man.
Appreciate you guys.
It's good. And I think, it comes down to, self-awareness. You know what I mean? Some people just don't like doing things by themselves. I didn't for years. For years and years. I always came from team sports. I always wanted to share it. I wanted to do it. Pace, you share way. You're like the guy. You're just like the most sharing business owner I've ever met ever. You're just giving it away and giving it away and giving it away, not financially, but just a lot of your time and a lot of your efforts and a lot of, everything going on. And I think that's great. You know what I mean? Like, find out what is giving you energy. If being in a partnership is giving you energy, stay in a partnership. If reading Rocket Fuel gives you energy and you've done one wholesale deal, read Rocket Fuel every day. Read the book Scale Up. Read all these big time books if it gives you energy. But if it's just distracting you from taking action and helping people in your community get out of bad problems, you're wasting your time. And so
you got to know where it comes from. You got to know the seed. You got to know if you're in it's just like a regular relationship. If you're needy and you're not a full developed person yet, you're not going to be a good contribution, because partnerships, and you guys, I'm sure Pace will say this, and Jamil is going to say the same thing, which is it's 110% and 110% from each person. It's not 50-50. So I think that
agree with that. 100% agree.
Yeah.
Do you?
And a lot of new wholesalers don't.
Can we get Cody in here? There we go. Cody, you there, buddy?
Yeah. Hey, what's up?
Hey, there he
is.
What's up, guys?
He's got a great question. He texted it to me this morning, and I thought it'd be great. I know Tom has answered this question a lot, and I think Jamil's probably the most qualified to answer this out of everybody. So go ahead, Cody.
Yeah, so when it comes to knowing your market, what does that entail? Like, what all should I know? Because I'm in the Kansas City market. It's kind of a big market. There's a lot of cities, but I'm just trying to see what do I need to know about my market to be the most successful.
Well, I think, first off, population is super important. You need to know where are the wholesale deals happening? Where are people trading? Where are they fixing and flipping properties? Are there opportunity areas? Are there places that are more highly gentrified than others? You really need to pay attention to that. The next thing I would understand is what's access to private money like, right? Am I in a judicial or a trustee state? Are hard money lenders prevalent in my market, or do they run away? Is it tough for hard money lenders to play in my area? The next thing I would look at is what type of transaction type. Am I looking at attorneys? Am I looking at title, or am I looking at both? What's the ease of transaction style, right? The next thing I would want to look at is how many cash transactions are actually happening in my market. I would want to pull some data, and I'd want to find out how many cash buyers are actually closing, how many private money transactions are actually happening. You can, from the data points that I just gave you there, you should be able to very, very quickly get a great understanding of the market you're in. Beyond that, what you'll want to learn about are the nuances of your market, right? Every market is going to have specifics, little nuances or idiosyncrasies. Like, for instance, in Arizona or Phoenix specifically, we have historic districts. We have suburban zones. We've got opportunity zones. We have we've got areas that are high traffic, high actual car traffic, but that doesn't affect it. There's other areas where traffic tanks it, right? And so you then need to learn the little details, those little idiosyncratic details of the market. But I think that those small details become second to those major pieces that I discussed earlier. I think beyond that, anything else that you're really looking at probably isn't super crucial. You just need to know, where are people doing deals and how are my buyers going to access money?
Okay.
And I think, what are the two states? Is it Kansas and Illinois that you need a license now?
Yes. And I'm sorry, Brent, that's something that I should add to that at this point now, because it's going to get more and more and more, right? This licensing requirement is not a small blip in this business, guys. This is the trend. This is the trend. We're moving towards that in the future. And so I would pay attention to that. I think it is Kansas and it is Illinois right now. But as we move forward, I think within the next few years, that's going to be more and more prevalent all across the United States.
Does that answer your question, Cody? Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I would just add, and Jamil really hit this on the head, but there's really, to me, there's two things about a market when it comes to wholesaling specifically. There's really only two things. Number one is geography. As far as population, there's only two types of problem markets when it comes to wholesaling. There's the whole entire population, and then there's either a super, super, super concentrated amount of people in a small amount of area, like Los Angeles or Manhattan, or you have the exact opposite where there's almost nobody in a big wide geography so a very, very spread out small population, like someplace in a farming town in Oklahoma, right? I'm thinking of a student Tiffany I had, who I always think of. So the first thing you have to look at is you could pretty much have $1 million business and anywhere in the middle. There's a few other caveats, but the biggest problem that you're going to have, or the biggest challenge, is going to be the concentration of the population over the geography, right? So if it's super concentrated or super diluted, that's going to be pretty much very difficult to do business in. The second thing is to cut through all of the fat, just sort your county by zip codes where the most cash transactions are taking place. And one thing that you always notice between people who are struggling financially and people who are very wealthy is, and I was just on the phone with somebody who's extraordinarily wealthy, and he literally, we're going into a new thing. It has nothing to do with real estate. It's about royalties. And the first question he asked was, well, who else is doing that in that area? Because wealthy people look for other people who are doing this, right? This is old knowledge from 4, 5, 6,000 years ago, is that you want to go where other people are doing what you want to be doing, where they're providing your product or they're providing your service, right? But poor people or struggling people, what they always look at is they say, oh man, it's oversaturated, right? You ever hear this word from a brand new wholesaler, right? It's oversaturated. There's too much competition. There's too many people. No such thing. Right, you want to go. There's a reason why there's a Lowe's that opened up next to every Home Depot. There's a reason why everybody who sells diamonds goes to the diamond district to sell their diamonds. They could go and sell diamonds anywhere, right? But why do they all concentrate in the diamond district? There's a reason for that. So I would say that you want to go right into somewhere middle America where you're not super concentrated on density of population in either direction, or it's too diluted. And then you want to go right into the hottest zip codes where the most cash transactions are taking place, because that really that's going to be the biggest indicator of there's a market where there are deals happening. People are buying for cash.
Okay.
I love it.
Good.
Cool. Yeah. Good. Thanks.
Awesome. There you go, Cody.
Yeah. Thanks, Brent.
And I think it's important. Let's talk about this a little bit, because we kind of lit a fuse when it came to getting licensed, right? And Tom, we've talked about this a lot, because I mean, obviously we coach around the country. Pace and Jamil coach around the country. I mean, this is something that's going to come up, and I think it's important that listen, the business is the same. You can still source real estate opportunities. There's just going to be some differences. There's going to be some, you're either going to have to get a license or you're going to have to buy these properties. I mean, is there, what other option is there?
Wait, what if I partnered with somebody who's licensed?
You can partner with an agent, but let's dissect this a little further, guys. So what they've done in Illinois is, sure, I can partner with somebody, but if I have traded more than a certain number of properties as the principal in that area, regardless of whether or not I'm taking title, they are going to require a license. They are going to require a license. So it doesn't matter if I take title. Brent, you can't even get around it by just saying, hey, I'm going to actually buy this and then resell it. You actually have to take title. And so I think that as wholesaling gets, and look, guys, this is one of the most popular niches in real estate investing that I've seen, today. As more and more people get into this business, as more and more people understand it, and as more and more people actually go out and try to solve problems for folks, this becomes more mainstream. The more mainstream this becomes, the more people are going to want there to be some form of regulation. And I think that's just a part of doing business.
So here's what I could add to this, right? This is so key. This is an area where you just got to be simple and brain dead. Don't be creative. Some of the people who, once you start to, do different things and you start to learn from different people, you see people who are where you want to be and people who are not where you want to be. And one of the things that I found early on is the people who are not where I want to be are the people who play games with taxes. Right? You ever meet these guys, right? They usually have a certain look about them, right? And they're like, well, if I don't pay my taxes on time, I could make an extra point on interest by lending out the money, and and they talk, and then they have a $500,000 tax bill and they're out of business. So here's the best advice. When the regulators and the attorneys, and the only person you should be talking to is an attorney, and none of us are qualified to give you an answer, especially in other states that we don't even live in. So here's the best advice. Find out what the regulators like and don't like, and do what they like. Do what they want you to do. Because when you do that, you are going to have confidence to grow a big, beautiful, thriving business. And when you try to skirt and you try to hide and cover up and conceal, and you try to ask the head of the RIA meeting at the water cooler the best way to structure a deal so you can get around a law, you are going to have a very weak job instead of a very powerful business. And the best news of all is when Illinois says get a license, because what they're doing is they're shaking the tree and everybody's falling out because there's no way I could get a license, even though getting a license is so simple, right? Because if you can wholesale, you can get a license. So just find out what the regulators want you to do and do what they want you to do. And it's really that simple. Like wholesaling, a lot of times people think it has to do with assigning contracts. Wholesaling has nothing to do with the real estate, and it has nothing to do with assigning contracts. Wholesaling is the art of consistently finding discounted properties. If you can get good at finding discounted properties, just do what the people in charge want you to do. Have a simple, easy life. Don't play games, especially with government agencies that have more money than you could ever acquire in your entire life times 1,000, because you'll just be going in the wrong direction. So that is the best advice I think I could give you, is find out, get a real estate attorney, find out what regulators want you to do and not want to do, and then do exactly what they want you to do and don't do what they don't want you to do. So if they're saying, hey, we're telling you get a license, just get a license. It's easy. I've met people who've gotten licensed. Like, if they can get a license, you can get a license. If you're watching this, if you know how to get this webcam to work,
you can get them in 10 days here.
Yeah. It's like getting a driver's license. It's not like, guys, it's not rocket science, right? This is real estate. I know a lot of barbers who are also realtors, you know?
Right.
It's really not difficult to do. And I love that, Tom. If you find yourself doing gymnastics to transact, don't do gymnastics.
It's not sustainable.
Especially with my body type. There's no way the Pillsbury Doughboy over here.
Come on. You're beautiful.
We got you two guys up there on the top and in shape, looking swell. Yeah, and then we got Tom. Tom, I know you're in shape. You look great. Flipman and I over here just had a whole fried belly full of calamari for lunch today. So
sounds good.
Yeah.
The calamari is not that fresh up here in the mountains, but we've got trout, which is great.
It's not fresh here in the desert either. We just don't care.
Right. That's great.
So, Pace, any thoughts there, bud?
The only thought I have is that we have nearly 500 people watching on all of our platforms live.
Wow.
We will probably have over 5,000 to 7,000 people watch this in the next 24 hours. And I can tell you our podcast, the audio version, is growing rapidly. And so I want to direct people, if you want to go back and rewatch some of these episodes, save them, or maybe you tuned in a little bit late. Tom Krol has already become one of my favorite people ever. And on top of it, he's one of the best guests we've ever had on Wholesale Hotline. So if you guys jumped in halfway through the show, go check out the podcast, the audio version. You can listen to it while you drive, listen to it while you work out, etc. iTunes and Spotify, right, Brent?
Yep. Wholesale Hotline on either one, guys. It's right there.
And if I may,
thank you, Pace. I appreciate that, brother.
Guys, Tom Krol, as you can see, is out enjoying time with his family. The sun is set where he is. He's in the woods. He took the time out of his evening away from his family to join us and drop all of his experience, his knowledge, his energy and smiles. And guys, I mean, typically it's Brent, Pace, and myself, and you guys like us, but we all look up to this guy, right? We all look up to Tom, and so do us a solid, and please share this on your IG stories, share this on your Facebook. Let Tom know how much you appreciate him. How important it is that when we have guests like this, that we honor them and that we let them know what they mean to us. So Tom, please guys, take a picture of this and share it to your Instagram stories so that he can see just how grateful you guys are. And
Tom,
how grateful we are.
Can we take this to the next level real quick in the last 11 minutes?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. This is where I want to take
you guys. I'm honored. Thank
I
you.
want to talk. Let's assume that people watching and listening to this are going to take action. They're going to build a business. They're going to be successful. They're going to make more money than they ever imagined. Tom, do you have any, principles that you would talk about on what to do with your money so that, one, you can continue to increase in your happiness and your gratitude and your love and your yeah, I mean, we get one shot at this, right? You know what I mean? Like, what do you do with your money, basically? Like, what do you think people should do? What do you think are some principles that'll really help people that are listening, that once they get to that point, there's something there? Because we see the Lambos, we see the big mansions, we see the whatever vacations or the watches and the chains and all that. And everybody's different. Everybody, if you're fulfilled from that, if that gives you that energy, great. But just give us another perspective on that, and let's kind of chat just between the four of us.
So I can, first of all, I will tell you, this is what I know for sure in my life that will help you right now. Number one is that before you even worry about what to do with your money, just how do you make it? And I will tell you, I don't care what your gender is. I don't care what your sexual orientation is. I don't care your age, fitness level, skin color, nationality, accent. It doesn't matter. I will tell you guys this right now. The only commonality between the people who are uber wealthy, the only commonality, the only single thread that runs amongst all of them internationally is this: every single one of them read. Every single one. Every single person on my personal cell phone who's worth $100 million or more. Do you know what they send me pictures of? Books that they're reading, pages in the books, quotes in the books. So I don't care what your teachers or guidance counselors told you, unless you are literally unable to even read a street sign, pick up a book and commit to reading 10 pages a day, every single day, because I'm telling you, if you want to make money, every single person I know who's where I want to be reads. Every single one, not audible, not listening, they all read. That's number one. Number two is I have something that I came up with for my money, which I came up with reading a lot of books of men and women who came before us. I can tell you some of them was the Simple Path to Wealth. Dave Ramsey's book I read. I read The Richest Man in Babylon, which is one of my top 10 favorite books of all time. Everybody should read The Richest Man in Babylon. And I came up with my own personal thing. I call it T4 Finance. And T4 Finance is very simple. Number one, every time you make $1 today, the first 10% goes back to God. It doesn't belong to you. If you take that money, you are stealing. Make no doubt about that. You will not be blessed, and God's going to get that money one way or another. So you might as well give it to him and be blessed, because it's going to him. And it says this in chapter 3, verse 8 of Malachi. It's the last chapter of the Old Testament. It says if you're not giving that money to God, that you're stealing. It also says that some people says it's not, that it's not in the New Testament. It is. It's in Matthew chapter 23. But you've got to give it. You can give it to your church. You can give it to your temple, your mosque. You can give it to charity, to poor people. But that money does not belong to you. Make no mistake about it. That 10% is not yours. Number two is figure out your tax bracket, and immediately, not tomorrow, not in April, not later on, immediately pay the government your percentage in tax. Immediately. That's the second T. So the first one is tithe. The second one is taxed. The third one is pay yourself first, because now it's your turn. Every wealthy person I know, from 6,000 years ago to people I know today, people I've read from all the way to Stoicism to the Bible times, pay yourself 10%. So the next money is your tomorrow money. So you have tithe, you have tax, and you have tomorrow. And then the last T is take, and that's today. You could take the rest. And if you do that, you don't need a silly budget. Budgets are ridiculous, especially entrepreneurs. There is no way that an entrepreneur can live on a budget. It is absolutely impossible unless you're an engineer. You cannot, or a CPA or whatever. So it's tithe, tax, tomorrow, and take. And if you do that, you will find financial freedom. The tomorrow money, the way I divide that 10% up is into 4 different categories. It's cash, 25% into cash, 25% into the stock market, 25% into physical gold, and 25% into real estate. You can play around with those numbers, but I will tell you guys that any plan is better than no plan. And if you follow that plan, it has worked for a lot of my students. It's worked for me. It's very, very simple. And it all comes from people, men and women who have come before us. You know, you just a lot of people, they spend so much time trying to figure things out, but there's nothing new under the sun. Everything that we're doing was already done. There's nothing new. This all is advice. None of it comes from me. It all comes from people who came before us. So that's kind of how I spend, how I allocate my funds, because I know I can't live on a budget, because if you start giving me tons of cash, I'll be going crazy with it, all with new adventures and new ideas, and I'll whip out my someday maybe folder and I'll start implementing all kinds of crazy stuff.
Pace.
Love it.
Bam.
I'm gonna give you two things to live by that I learned from Tom Krol. How about that?
Woo!
I think I'm learning this also from Brent. Brent, when I saw you today coming in from the office, we actually bumped into each other, and you were coming from where?
The gym.
Right. So I know it's a little bit different for what Tom does, but Tom takes a little bit of a break in the afternoon. You take a break in the afternoon. So you guys work hard in the morning. You take a break. You work a little bit in the afternoon as well. I really like that, and I'm starting to implement that in my life. I'm adopting it with my second piece of advice, which is love on my wife as much as I possibly can. And that is something that when you see Tom around his wife, and it is like so magical. You can see and feel the love. You can like almost like swim in the aura, essentially. And I feel the same way when I'm around Brent Daniels, and I feel the same way when I'm around Jamil. They love their significant other. They treat them like their partner, their equal, and it is so fun to all get together. So those are the two things I'm currently working on right now.
That's perfect, because you know how to lose half of what you got right now, right? Is a divorce.
Half. That's if you're lucky.
Right. No, I mean, honestly,
that's so true. Yeah. It's
before,
so true.
Before lawyers.
Yeah, I mean, financially, I mean, you look at all this effort that you put in, and all this work that you've done, and all the people that you've talked to, and all of the struggles, and you didn't have security, now you have security, and now you're financially stable. You can't, and Pace, we talked about this. I don't even like coming into the office on Mondays. I like from Friday at 1 o'clock till Tuesday being around my family 100%. And I'll do, I mean, I'm on the phone. I mean, it's 2020. Come on. I mean, we can talk and text and get going and make things happen. But if you're not taking care of what's going on at home, then what's the point? You know what I mean? Like my wife would know. We could live in a van and my kids would love it. They would love it. My wife would have.
Are you making the living in the van? Are you making the living in the van reference to me? And
no, but that is awesome. No. I'm talking an actual van, not a 6-figure luxury RV type of thing, recreational vehicle. No, but
by the way, can I mention that real quick, because I'm leaving here in about 13, 14 days. I am going around the country and I'm visiting the TTP students. I'm visiting the Astro students and the Sub 2 students. Starting in San Diego, we are going to have an event with Lauren Hardy, TTP, Jamil Damji. We're going to bring out the video crew, and we're going to get all of our students together and have a collaboration fest. And I am bringing my van out with my wife and my kids, so it's going to be a blast.
It's awesome. The other thing,
awesome. I'm down for that too.
What's the start date, Pace?
I am starting not this Friday, but the Friday after. I'm leaving for about 10 weeks straight, West Coast, coming home for 2 months, and then going East Coast probably for 3 months. And Jamil will be stopping in some of the bigger cities to love on his Astro students as well. So TTP, if we can get you out during the middle of the week, it'd be kind of cool. Maybe once in a while, get you out on the road.
Awesome. Love it. Count me in.
I want Ty to quickly answer that question, because I think somebody from the block that, he's absolutely I can tell you that he does not he's not extravagant. He doesn't spend money on chains. I have never seen him in a fancy car, but Ty's been doing this for a long time. Ty, what advice do you got for us youngins, or not us, because I'm like you, But for the guys that are here watching right now, debating whether or not they should buy, a Benz or Tithe, what do you think? What do you think that should be?
Oh, wow. When it comes to just spending money, man, for me, I guess I was, it's a little different for me because when you didn't come from any money or whatever, I guess that may be everybody's story. I don't know. But so it's been a roller coaster. Let me just say this. When I first started, and I was making on the job that I was on, I was billing for Bell South, which is part of AT&T. I was making about $45,000 a year, which in Birmingham, Alabama, that's a pretty good living for a single guy or whatever. So most people back then, I was in my 20s. That's what you live for today, to make $40,000 a year. But I've had an entrepreneurial mindset for a long time. So when I discovered real estate and started making money the first year, I think I did just in wholesale fees, I did $60,000. So it dwarfed, somewhat dwarfed what I was making. But I still was working or whatever. So had just got out of a relationship sort of when it started rolling, and really my mind wasn't right or whatever. So if I was making that, I was spending it or whatever. So 2008 happens, 2007, I really noticed it in late 2007, 2008, when you're going from making about $20,000 a month down to about $5,000, it's just like you went from making $2,000 a month to $200. You know what I'm saying? Because I was living like that, and so pretty much lost a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Took some very hard financial. It took a minute, right? And sort of was still doing real estate just a little bit. Got into the gold business. That's when the We Buy Gold thing was going crazy or whatever. And was making a lot of money then. So by that time that rolled around, I still was sort of a little loose with money, and sort of that faltered. So I had 2 bites at the apple and didn't learn my lesson. So now, totally different or whatever. And, just a different attitude about money and trying to keep it turning over. I think I'm a giving person just by, you just see what I do for people online. Anytime I get a text message from people, I've never even talked to them before, and they just send me a picture of a check saying thank you or whatever, just from the content that I put out there. But when it comes to spending money, like on TikTok, I've been putting a big presence out there, and I get a lot of feedback because I dress like this every day. Every day I'm going to have on 4 or 5 shirts. They're going to say the same thing or whatever, Officer Free or Fob or Dig It Later or any of that stuff. They say, who is this guy? He doesn't like he has any money. You're a bum, blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't bother me. I try to send them something to I say, well, go read the book, The Millionaire Next Door, which I've never read the book before, but I think I know what it's about.
It's a good book. It's a good book. You should read it.
Or whatever. So, if someone wants to buy the big cars and all that, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? Because I do, the car I drive is a luxury vehicle, but it's a 10-year-old luxury vehicle. You know what I'm saying? So it's just really basic. Try to spend a lot less than you spend. It's just that simple.
Love it.
A lot less. I don't care how much money you're making. Your goal should be to spend a lot less than what you make, is what I meant to say. A lot less than what you make.
Awesome.
That's just the basics of economics.
I think one thing that Tom really put into my head is pay off all personal debts, mortgage, car, college, anything, any personal debts, credit cards, any of that. Pay it all off first, and then start investing. And I love it, because literally it opened up the floodgates of my earning potential, because I wasn't spending energy worrying and frustrating about the bills, because I don't have any bills. I mean, I got kids and stuff, but just that average interest payment that you're paying. I mean, they say the average American pays till what, like June or May? They pay to May, January to May, just interest. That's where their income's going. And then you have taxes, and then you live off a little bit, and then there's nothing for savings. That's why 68% of Americans don't have more than $500 in their savings account. That's why. It's because of interest. And this business gives us the opportunity to make such amazing amounts of income that I would just want to scream it from the rooftops, because there's only, 500 people, maybe 10,000 people that see this out of 320 million, right? We have the advantage. There is more deals than there are people to get them. I'm telling you right now, there's more deals than people to get them.
Brent, I should have added that the debt thing is so key, because guys, I am telling you, debt is dark. It is dark. There's a word called indentured, and that's what it comes from. And debt is really bad. The only people you see who really struggle, who are wealthy, and then they it's going to be debt is going to be one of the number one reasons. They're in the back of the rear room. You could go and talk to them. They're a little bit older than us, and they always say things like, "You wouldn't believe how much I used to make." You know what happened is they didn't pay their taxes right out of the gate, and they got into debt. And the more slick and scientific the debt is, the more danger it is. The more it's like, no, you don't understand. This is totally secure because of X, Y, and Z. That's when you need to run. Like, credit card debt is a bad debt. But and one other thing on money, guys, is that, as we're all talking about this, don't forget, money is the least of these. Money is like, what we've really, if you go back and listen to this podcast, what we really all said is money's not important. Money is only a symptom of the condition. What a lot of poor people do is they chase the symptoms, right? But you'll never get rich chasing the symptom. You've got to chase the condition that Jamil has, that Brent has, that Pace has, right? You got to chase the condition that produces that, like tithing, like reading, like focusing on fewer things, like hard work, right? So that's really important. And also understand that money is a game. Once you win, you can stop playing the game. There is no joy in running up the score. Every single person who wins at the game of money and then continues to run up the score only finds misery. They don't find any joy. So money's a game. Once you win, pick a new game, because there's a lot of games in town, and money is just one of them, and it's only a symptom of a condition. So seek the condition that Pace has. He told you, right? He works hard in the morning. He takes a break in the afternoon. Then he goes back to work. He focuses on fewer things. Pace has a partner. Brent doesn't. I mean, Jamil linked up with people. I mean, these are the conditions that produce the money. So, and that's where you have to be careful with the Lamborghini.
I also think it has a big amount to do with the people you surround yourself with. A big thing to do with who you hang out with, because we hang out all together, and very rarely. I mean, we'll talk business, but not much. I mean, we're just talking family. We're talking things. We're talking life. We're talking funny. We're
Trying not to be influenced by the people you spend time with is like trying to go swimming without getting wet. It's impossible. So no matter what the excuse is, that they're family, they're close, we've been friends for years, it doesn't matter if they're constantly poor, if they're constantly having emergencies, if they're constantly a victim, if they're constantly struggling. It's because of their belief system is wrong. Their actions are in line with their belief systems, and it will influence you no matter how. If you spend time with great people who are where you want, and a lot of people say, who is the right person? Because it's not all about money and it's about ethics. The right person is the person who is where you want to be. That's who the right person is. So find people who are where you want to be, and then spend time with those people. And if you do that, you will have explosive results, because you can't go swimming without getting wet, and you can't hang out with people without them influencing you. It's impossible. So
yeah,
awesome.
I just whispered, eagles don't hang around chickens.
I saw that on TikTok. I thought it was hilarious.
And Rhino
there you go, Ty.
Cows.
Awesome.
Hey, Brent, why don't you take us home, brother?
Yeah, Tom, thank you so much. I mean, I've just seen so many comments just exploding. I've had more text messages from the TTP family and just the Rhino tribe since you've been on than I've ever had. So, I mean, it's really incredible. I know that it's already nighttime there. We really appreciate you jumping on here. You always are give so much instruction, and you give us a really good, I mean, you're the perfect example of really enjoying life, being wealthy, being happy, and just overall health. You know, I just love it. So thank you, Tom. Love you.
Thank you, guys. You guys are the best hosts ever. I was awesome being on this show. I'll be back anytime you'd like to have me. I'm here for you. And Ty, it was great spending time with you, man. Flip man, awesome.
That's what's
Good
up,
stuff,
man.
guys.
Same here.
Thank you guys. Over and out.